Bremen is not granted peace on this night. The cries of messengers tear through the darkness. Their shouts demand the same thing again and again. Whoever loves freedom and hates injustice must arm themselves. The people are told to go to Langenstraße. Many are already on their way, swords at their sides. Lanterns flicker everywhere, doors swings open, men pour out. The news spreads like wildfire. From St. Nicholas Church, hundreds push through the alleys. Others had been gathered here for hours. It had long been whispered. Now they move toward the market. Two banners wave ahead in the wind, high above the heads of the crowd. Everyone knows what it means. The citizens are rising in resistance, not against strangers, but against those who have seized power here, the so-called Geschlechter. Families, wealthy and influential, who steer the council according to their will. But enough is enough. Shortly before, Arndt von Gröpeling had been murdered in cold blood. The killers were people from the circle of the Geschlechter. The procession passes by his house. Some men pause briefly. They exchange grim glances. No one speaks. It is a silent fury. When the people reach the market, a murmur runs through the crowd. The Geschlechter have entrenched themselves here. Their captain, Gottschalk Frese, stands on a balcony, looking down at the community. His face is clearly visible in the torchlight. Frese looks unsettled, for not only common folk have come, but also men from the council, even some from higher circles, with weapons in hand. They stand side by side with the rest of the citizenry. Panic breaks out. The Geschlechter flee behind thick walls, quickly, hastily, without looking back. Someone from them shouts, "They will return." The people turn their swords back to the murder victim. They say it was the children, the sons of the old Geschlechter who had inherited everything far too early. Names, power, wealth, and no resistance at all. Everyone knew it. They were arrogant, drunk on their own status, and on too much beer and wine. Most members of the community knew these young men all too well. Barely older than 20, in silk doublets, precious belts, knives with broad blades, laughing at the law. Whatever they did in the past went unpunished. Their fathers sat on the council. They were the council. Everyone spoke of how they loved to kill, not in battle, but in the streets, out of sheer recklessness, and each time silence followed. Fear settled over the alleys like mist. Who would want to be next? Then came Arndt von Gröpeling. He was, in a sense, one of them. A man from the Geschlechter, yes. But he spoke openly what others only thought. People said he had loudly named the boys' crimes at a council meeting. Their fathers did not like it, but they let him speak. At first. Perhaps they believed that the serious illness that would soon confine him to his bed and to his grave would take care of the matter. The thought was not entirely wrong, but their children would not wait. A priest had been at Arndt's house that fateful evening. He had already received the sacraments. And then there came the boys. 6 or 7 of them stood before his house. After the priest had left, they hammered on his door. Eventually, they forced their way inside. Arndt's loyal servant tried to protect his master. Later, both were found dead, pierced by the same sword. That was too much. This time, fear was no longer enough to keep people silent. That is why the people are now at the market, and more keep coming. Some carry weapons, others only tools. This is no uprising as described in Chronicles. It is a movement born of pain, perhaps of shame as well. The signal is given and everyone sets off. The banners still wave above their heads, and more people join. They come from the alleys, from the courtyards, even from the walls. Some who would have never marched side by side before now march together. And even in the council there were those who would no longer remain silent. Gottschalk Frese had been the leader of the old order. As the crowd approaches, he hides with his allies in the town hall. Once it had been the symbol of the power of the Geschlechter. Now it serves as their last refuge. But it is the house of the citizens. Time no longer works for Frese and his kind. The entrance door falls. Then, room by room, the residential towers of the Geschlechter follow. They flee, running for their lives. By the next morning, Bremen is a different city. The people know only one topic of conversation. Some say the dispute began with a pike. It sounds ridiculous, but the story is told from many sides. A massive fish had been caught in the Molengraben at the Bürgerpark, larger than any before. People crowded around it. Some said the devil himself inhabited the creature. Then began the struggle. Who should get it? Who had a claim? One of the boys demanded it. Arndt von Gröpeling opposed him. Perhaps that was it. One account says Arndt saw the fish at the market, though he had only intended to buy children's beer at first. He refused to give up the fish on principle, in protest. Is it true? No one knows, but it would fit him. The people should have known that the powerful would not accept their expulsion. Of course not. They even warned them. When the Geschlechter fled, they sought help from the knights of the Archbishopric and the Duke of Lüneburg. The city is besieged, yet it holds, and it will hold. In the streets, attacks occur again and again. Scattered supporters of the Geschlechter and hired assassins kill anyone they deem guilty. The cost is high, but Bremen remains free. There is, after all, hope. Clergy who are still allowed into the city report that the Geschlechter are falling into poverty, forced to pay their allies. All their old estates are thus lost. They must sell. When peace comes, everything will be put into words. Treaties are written, conditions recorded. Some castles may never be rebuilt. Names are struck from the citizens' registers. The era of these criminals as Bremen citizens is over. Everyone knows it was never just about the pike and not just about Arndt von Gröpeling. It is about a city that will no longer live in fear. For peace to truly come, however, the Archbishop is indispensable. He is the guardian of the Geschlechter. Finally, he arrives. People see him sitting on a cart, slumped over, like a shadow of his former self. Two servants support him as he is drawn through the gate of the cathedral courtyard. The wheels grind over the frozen cobblestones, and from beneath his hood peeks the face of a man who has seen too much. Giselbert, Brems Archbishop. Only a few years ago his name was spoken with reverence in matters of treaties, justice, or war. Now silence. Even his servants speak of him only rarely. But everyone knows that he sees, that he understands. It is said that he is sick and old, that he no longer comprehends all that is happening around him. Yet most do not believe it. Giselbert withdraws because he knows his time is ending. The city now governs itself, the council makes the law, no longer the bishop, and yet he lets it happen without openly intervening. In the summer, still before the fall of the Geschlechter, a document has circulated, a peace agreement signed by Giselbert and the cathedral provost Bernhard. They mediate between the varying parties, between the council and the families clinging to him. It bears his seal, his handwriting. It was an attempt to save what can be saved. But in the council chambers, things are handled differently today. Bernhard's name is invoked, not Giselbert's. Only the provost steps forward. Giselbert remains outside, silent. It is as if he withdraweth into his office, into the spiritual, as if he is unwilling to take sides. Or perhaps he cannot, but he must, one last time. So there can be peace. It had once been completely different, and the situation escalated. When a ministerial retainer from his entourage wounded a goldsmith, the council demanded justice. But Giselbert granted the perpetrator protection within his own house. The citizens raged. They stormed the building, threw furniture into the street, set it on fire. But Giselbert remained stubborn. He defended his loyalists. This was probably the beginning of all of this. And then came Arndt von Gröpeling. The archbishop fought on different fronts with the Geschlechter against the people. For several years, councillors had been working to codify the city's rights. It began in 1303 and was intended to be completed by 1308. The start was shortly after the fate of the archbishop's house. Those involved say it was no simple task. Especially the powerful Geschlechter intervened repeatedly, especially Gottschalk Frese. Before his expulsion, he was the center of this commission. Tension was always in the air during council meetings. The Geschlechter roared that the council constitution was being overlooked in silence, as if one would not openly say what was really happening. People sensed that the Geschlechter did not want this. Their voices in the council were strong, but not the majority. Only 11 out of 30 votes. They had a blocking minority. They feared that city law would establish that they could be overruled, and they did not like that. Many therefore believe that the expulsion of the Geschlechter and the new city law are connected. A decision was imminent. Should the old Geschlechter integrate into the new broader citizenry, adapt and become part of the city, or did they want to hold on to their old alliance with the archbishop, the knights and the landed nobility? Many of the old families did not even entertain the idea of severing the bond. In part, the Geschlechter were successful in their struggle. There was talk of an addition to the city law, which unfortunately did not succeed. It is considered the fundamental law for citizens' property in the foregoing, the city quarters. Had this addition been adopted, the city would have extended its power far beyond its borders. But this did not happen. It was deemed unnecessary. The property of the Geschlechter remained beyond the reach of the community after their expulsion. most people do not understand why. They were criminals. The city breathes heavily. The walls still stand, the gates are closed, yet fear has not disappeared. The Geschlechter are expelled, but they are not defeated, not truly. The rumors of their impoverishment are greatly exaggerated, many think. Their estates in the countryside still exist. Their allies hide in Bremen's shadows in houses old enough to hold secrets. The citizens sometimes see them, the men with sharp eyes, moving unobtrusively through the alleys. They whisper of old alliances, regain power, of a day when Bremen will be like it was before, or worse. And the question remains, can this city truly survive if the enemy is not only outside its walls but also within? The new council speaks of unity and peace. What else can it do? Yet distrust runs deep. Old friendships break under suspicion. Who still carries the heart of the city within them, and who guards only their own advantage? Many Bremeners had worked for the Geschlechter and benefited from them. These people too were angered by the murder, but now they ask themselves where the next meal will come from. Some say the people should lay down their arms and focus on the new. Yet others feel they must remain vigilant. The freedom for which all have fought is a fragile gift. One false step and the shadow of the Geschlechter will return, more powerful than ever. The walls protect, but can they save the people? Or must the people themselves grow stronger together without fear or betrayal? The city stands at a crossroads, and only its people can decide which path it will take.